On behalf of Society of Indian Physiotherapists, I, Nitesh Bansal, Secretary of Society of Indian Physiotherapists, welcome you all for today's SIPWEB on enhancing blended learning using the online classroom by Dr. Shabnam Agarwal and Dr. Narashimman Swaminathan. We shall begin this in a short while. Meantime, may I request you to kindly go through the disclaimer and the important points before we start our today's webinar. Hi, very good evening to one and all. I, Nitesh Bansal, Secretary of Society of Indian Physiotherapists, welcome you all on behalf of all our members. We welcome you for our third edition of SIPWEB, where we are going to talk about enhancing the blended learning using online classroom. Without taking much time, let me welcome our first speaker, Dr. Narashimman Swaminathan, who completed his BPT in 1999 and MPT in cardiopulmonary in 2003. Dr. Narashimman was awarded with a 2 years International Fellowship in Advanced Medical Education and Research in 2012. He has completed a project which analyzed the entry-level physiotherapy curriculum of various universities in India and prepared a blueprint for uniform physiotherapy curriculum funded by Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, Karnataka. He has completed funded projects related to lifestyle disorders, physical activities. He has several publications in peer-reviewed journals and won Laureate Research Publication Award in 2017. He's a member of Sri Ramchandra Center for Health Professional Education and involved in training educators in digital teaching methods. He is currently undertaking PhD studies in the field of health professional education and digital technology. He holds an adjunct professor status with University of South Australia and visiting professor at Bournemouth University in UK. Thank you so much, Professor Narashimman, for joining us today. I will not say between you and our audience, so over to you now.
Thank you very much, Nitesh. Thanks to SIP for organizing this kind of webinar. This is the need of the hour, especially when we look from the academician's point of view. So this webinar, we have 3 objectives. So the participants will be able to identify the simple tools to conduct online classes to tide over this COVID situation. And the participants will be able to utilize the commonly used platform. We'll be focusing on the platforms which are freely available so that our academicians can use and our students will be benefiting by the classrooms. And then we will be able to discuss the advantages and disadvantages of the tools. So these are all the 3 simple objectives. So with these objectives, probably we'll start with a poll. Nitesh, could you start the poll? We want all of you to vote. Yeah, you'll see the poll on your screen. Please answer. Hope you all are answering for the questions. Okay. Can we have the results, Nitesh? Wow, that's fantastic. 82% of our respondents are comfortable in teaching online. That's great. 26% are trained, 74% are not trained. Okay, so that requires a formal training, of course, but now we adapted the situation. That's a positive sign to start this webinar. So what is the background? Why we need this online teaching or blended learning, what is called? We need to understand the current generation of learners. It's the olden times, where the teacher is the sage on the stage. Whatever our teachers said, we used to learn or grasp from them. But now the current generation learners are socially wired millennial. They're socially wired. And the educational context is also changing. Now, thanks to the internet, you see, everything is available for them. Whatever you say, they can Google it. They'll be able to, search everything. And then the digital initiatives and the higher education is also picking up. You see, now, if you ask your kid, hi, sweetie, how was the school today? And you will get an answer. You can read all about it on my blog. That's what's happening now. So the current generation learners are millennial learners. They grow with the technology. So it is us to utilize the technology to engage them and to impart the knowledge. We should mix the traditional face-to-face training along with this online training. So what happened in our government initiatives? If you see in 2017 itself, the government held the National Convention on Digital Initiatives for Higher Education. The government started many things like NPTEL and Swayamprabha. You may be aware of this. These are all mainly for the technical courses, and now some slowly the medical programs also coming up. So now what happened? Is it because of our UGC or MHRD COVID? Now we are in the situation. The COVID situation transforms education. We are in the right time to pick up this online platform, and then it should continue not only to this tide over this situation. We should be using this online platforms more. So we have many platforms. If you see, these are all the freely available tools: Google Classroom, Academy, Edmodo, Moodle, and Microsoft Teams, Zoom, and Google Meet. So there are many tools. For this webinar, we will see a couple of tools, how these tools could be effectively used. These tools are 2 types of online learning. One is synchronous and asynchronous. Synchronous is online. Now we are talking online. The communication happens in the real time. Possibly more engaging. It seems to be effective. You can also give instant feedback, but provided the training and the availability of platform is necessary. The other side is asynchronous. Here the students can learn at different times. You record your video, you post it on the learning management system. That provides flexibility to the students to learn. It's more convenient. It allows the students to work on their own time. This is how you all will be attending some of the online courses through other platforms. So asynchronous and synchronous. Through this webinar, we will introduce all these tools. You will be able to use it for the benefit of our students, and even some of we will be able to use it for our continuing professional education also. Now I think Dr. Shabnam will explain about some of the tools.
Thank you, Dr. Narashimman, for introducing us to the topic and take us through the basis of online learning, which are available. Some of them are free, some of them are paid one. And you rightly said that we can't take up everything in one webinar. We'll need to have series of webinars, but we'll try our level best. And that's why we have experts like you and Dr. Shabnam who are going to teach us how do we use the online tool to make it the best out of it. Let me introduce our next speaker, who is going to take us through one of the tools before we come back again to Dr. Narashimman to take us through another tool, that is Google Classroom. Dr. Shabnam is a PhD holder, is currently working as a Director Education of Nipani Group of Institution and an Honorary Physiotherapist to Governor of West Bengal. She started her administrative career as a Director Education of Nipani Institute of Healthcare Studies, which is affiliated to West Bengal University of Health Sciences in 2004. She is on the PG Board of Studies of West Bengal University of Health Sciences and is a UG and PG examiner at several universities. In 2015, she was asked to shoulder the responsibility of Nipani Institute of Management Studies. She received her master's degree in orthopedic physiotherapy from University of Wales, College of Medicine, Cardiff University in UK. Her PhD from Curtin University, Perth, Australia, involved intensive research and was awarded in the year 2011. She is regularly invited as a panelist, speaker, or moderator in regional, national, international conferences, as well as serves regularly as a reviewer in scientific committee of conference globally. A dedicated clinician equally involved in teaching. Thank you, Dr. Shabnam, for accepting our request and joining us today for this webinar and teaching us how do we use these online available tools. Thank you. Over to you, Dr. Shabnam, now.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Nitesh. And I'm really happy to conduct this webinar because I think the topic is just so relevant. And, I'll just go ahead because, and actually get on to this. I'll share what we have and what we've got here. So this is the new reality. The teacher is the same, but you've got different tools. We've got a flat screen on the table in front of us, which is called the computer or a laptop. And there's this teacher staring at us from the flat screen. We are at home. She's at her place, at her home. And all the communication is done via this. So this is difficult. It's not, maybe a lot of people have adapted to it, but it's not the ideal situation. And yet, because the time is such that we have to do this. So Zoom is basically the latest toy that we have. And Zoom has been met with mixed emotions. We've been scared about Zoom because Zoom has issues with security. And Zoom also is very convenient. So we would like to, its convenience is what kind of adheres us to it. The issue about Zoom was that it's Chinese in origin. And the viruses come from China and Zooms come from China, so people were a bit apprehensive. But Zoom's not actually Chinese. The owner, Eric Yuan, actually migrated to the US in 1997. And so it may have a Chinese owner, but it's not Chinese. Zoom is basically a pioneer in video collaboration. And it's really highlighted the importance of easy access to video calling. So it can be used very easily. It's very easy to use. And even children today are using it. It's absolutely okay with all the operating systems like Linux and iOS and the PC and everything. So Zoom is important to us as of now today. So Zoom download options are plenty. I feel that we need to download the app because what happens is that when we download the app, it's quicker. A lot of times they say that you can access Zoom through the web, but it doesn't work very well at times. So download the Zoom app and then there are plenty of options here. The desktop version works the best, and students should also be asked to download the app. So students normally, these are all the options for downloading Zoom, and you can carry on and on. Look at the options, look at the all the various options. And finally, what we need to understand is that although we are at home, home and we are working from home, there are certain etiquettes, which is concerned when we're working online or we are attending online classes. If you're doing a video conferencing, we should understand that the light should be in front of us so that our faces are well illuminated. And the other thing is that we should have headphones, ideally, and a microphone, because if the headphone and microphone important, and a few other online etiquettes, like although you're at home, but it doesn't mean that you kind of dress shabbily. Like I know of children in the UK who are made to wear a school uniform and sit in front of the computer and conduct classes so that they get the feeling that they are in school. So, dressing up for a meeting is important. Now, a Zoom session is important because you can schedule it. Look at the fact that here you can schedule it in advance. You can exactly schedule the time. The duration of the meeting can be sorted out. If it's a recurrent meeting, that too can be chosen. Then finally, you will have a meeting ID that will be generated automatically and a password which you can change, which you can change, and it doesn't necessarily have to be the password that the software has generated. You have various options for video and audio, which you can, select, but we can talk about that a bit later. The other thing is the ease of actually sharing the Zoom session on the calendar. You can choose Outlook, you can choose Google Calendar, you can choose other calendars. I'm a Google person, so I choose a Google Calendar. Once it appears on my Google Calendar, it's shared with my students, and it's easy for me to schedule a meeting. And this is how it appears. So this is a normal calendar for most people. And this is where I have a staff meeting or I have another Zoom meeting, which is scheduled here. So it's easy. Even the Outlook calendar allows Zoom scheduling in tandem with Outlook as well. The meeting can be customized, it's everything can be customized in Zoom, and so that's important. So it's scheduled, and now what you can do is start a meeting, and when you join a meeting, this is how it looks. So most of the time when you get this message on your screen, it says join a meeting, and at the bottom it says sign up or sign in, right? So you click on join a meeting, or wherever you get the URL or wherever on the calendar, you can join a meeting. You just need to click there, and then you go on, join a meeting. There will be a meeting ID that will be shared with you. So you can actually put in the meeting ID. You can also at times put in a roll number in case your teacher sorted it out like that with you. And then finally a password has to be given, and the password is generated, as I said, either by Zoom or by the host. When you join a meeting, you can actually what happens is that your audio or video may be disabled. So you would a lot of times teachers don't want background noise and things like that coming in. So what happens is that, but your option of joining the meeting with your audio is you should be using call using internet audio. That's what the option for you is. And then you have the audio and video option. So here it is. You may unmute. The video may not start initially. This is normally what happens at the beginning of a meeting. And then you can actually unmute it. And so you can see the thing that this is unmuted and this is muted. You can actually see a list of participants here, and you can actually move the screen and see the participants. You can see most of the participants have the videos off, and whoever speaks or whoever, their microphone gets highlighted like this. So this is how it appears, whether they appear vertical in a vertical list or whether they appear as a grid. But normally in a Zoom meeting, you get 4 people on the screen and you can scroll from screen to screen to screen sideways and you can see all the participants. And this is when the participants video is off and of course when the participants video is on. And a lot of things that you can do with customizing your meeting in Zoom. And you can do that audio and video management. You can have a virtual background like we have right down here. This is obviously not home for me. This is the Society of Indian Physiotherapists, banner. And you can have a waiting room where students or participants wait before being allowed in. You can actually, this is important because a lot of time people just gate crash. So a waiting room is good. Then you have a screen sharing option, which is right now we are using that screen sharing option. And I can present this this PowerPoint to you. And you can have a meeting chats. Zoom gives us the option. Another thing about the virtual background is I want to share that the other day I was attending a webinar and obviously the gentleman was at home and then you had a child coming in and taking out his or her toy. Possibly he was in the child's bedroom. It was just so funny. So having a virtual background is quite handy. You can actually live stream your meetings, which is a very important aspect of Zoom. So this particular webinar is being streamed live on Facebook. You can make it live on YouTube as well. So this becomes easier. A lot of times I haven't myself been able to attend a SIP webinar, because of the timing. But then I have just got onto Facebook and seen it later. So it just makes it more convenient, doesn't it? So, when we look at a classroom and when we look at, we've all enjoyed our normal classroom, we've gone to school, we watched the teacher walk in, we also expressed our, ideas about how the teacher looks for that particular day. We've looked at our classmates, we've cracked jokes. So there is a certain bonhomie there. And that's important. That's important for people to meet, especially children. But this is the same kind of environment is what we need to create in a Zoom class. So how do we do that? So in a Zoom class, what's good is that because of the webcam, everyone can show their faces. And so I can actually look at the expression, anyone's bored, anyone's irritated, or anyone's interested. If I find a particular student looking bored, I normally tend to direct my questions at them. And I also try and make it easy. It's another thing is that the teacher cannot just look down at her notes and say, all right, I need to refer to my notes. You have to look, make eye contact, and look very carefully so that you can make out who's paying attention, who's not. So, as in a Zoom class, what happens is that remember, this is a synchronized teaching method. And we need to have an interactive session where my voice, when I'm talking to my student, needs to be relaxing and good. I don't need to scream or shout. It's very clear. And the student needs to reply in the same. Another thing that is very important in a class is that, you've got a class of 30 to 40 students. So what do? How do you manage 30 to 40? You can't keep scrolling screen after screen. So it's a good idea to have a co-host, another faculty member who is kind of controlling the class. A lot of students sometimes have a mic on. There's a lot of background noise. Sometimes they do it on purpose. I've had students who've done that as well. So it's a good idea to actually do that. Have a co-host who can switch off the microphone, who can look at the technicalities while you yourself can just stick to conducting the class and the material of the class. So Zoom offers us chat. It's good because students can actually chat, they can share with you, and you can important. But however, at times it gets too chatty and that's the time when you have to ask them to stop. But it's important for students to chat, because then you know that they're paying attention. Remember, you're not being able to look at all of them together. So having the students chatting may be slightly distracting, but have them chat with you, you know that things are happening. A lot of times, of course, chats can be a bit disturbing. So these kind of non-verbal feedback are good, where students can actually do a thumbs up. And if they want to draw your attention, they can wave a hand and show, they've drawn your attention and said like, look, I want to say something, rather than bombard it and say that, oh, look, ma'am, I want to say something. So these are important options that we have in Zoom. Um, we can also have a poll, which we did right at the beginning of the session. And so Dr. Narashimman was very interested in the poll. So we had it right at the beginning. It's important because it kind of generates an interest, and the participants feel that, yes, their opinion matters. So it's good to have a poll. Share screen option is exactly what I'm sharing with you right now. I'm sharing my PowerPoint with you, and I do hope that you feel that you're actually attending an actual session. I'm on stage and I'm presenting this to you, and you're there in the audience watching this. We also have the option of recording our session. So what happens is, this is important in class. Your session is recorded, the PowerPoint is recorded, everything is recorded. So, and any chats and all that will come in, that also gets recorded. So a lot of times, parents or the educator or the student, if they ever want to access this, saying, I quite missed that, or I didn't quite understand that, and instead of you having to repeat it, you can just go back to the recording and show it to them. You can have a whiteboard as well, and you can write. So, we had a maths faculty member who was finding it extremely difficult with Google Classroom because he couldn't show the maths calculations on the board. So with a whiteboard, life got a bit easier. So you could do it like this. And here we've tried to write a SIP thing. This is, of course, with drawing. And here you can also type it out, so it gives you both the options, which is quite nice. Now, we've got a thing about Zoom free versus paid. So of course, anything that comes free is not, complete, and anything you pay for definitely is better. But a free Zoom is still worth it, because, we've all been using it. We all jumped into Zoom the moment the lockdown was announced, and we've conducted classes. Only thing is that whenever you have to conduct a class, you have to invite all the students via email, and then you have to send them a link. So that is a bit tedious. Security issues have been plenty, because everyone got scared. My God, the number of mails and WhatsApp forwards we got regarding the security issues of Zoom were many. There were times when we were actually scared to have Zoom on our computers. So there was an issue, and I'm going to sort that out in the next slide. Another thing that's an option, that's a issue with the free version, is that there's a limitation of time. So if you have a lot of classes, it's good to schedule them one after the other so that you can have a longer time. Obviously, in a paid version, life is easier. You can have a longer class, and it is a bit more secure. But there's good news for us, and because Zoom is zooming in changes. So they've got from May 9 to improve the security, they have said that you have to have a password. So you might turn around and say that I'm already having password. What's the big deal about it? But no. Now it's mandatory. You have to have a password for your meeting. And from 30th of May, Zoom will enable GCM encryption. Now you might turn around and say, what's GCM encryption? See, what happens is that so far, whatever we've been sharing on Zoom, anyone can access that, right? Let's say people at the server can access it as it is. So let's say if you have shared important documents, or you shared a presentation which you are fairly proud of and you didn't want to really share it with everybody, Zoom has it. Zoom has it as it is. But now with encryption, what will happen is that that whatever you share will be encrypted, and so people don't have access to your original document. And also, by May 30th, Zoom is going to upgrade, and everyone will have to move on to the upgraded version. So I think Zoom's doing a good job, and I hope that this particular session has kind of cleared a few doubts. And Nitesh, I think that's about all that I had to say about Zoom. I hope that was helpful for everyone. Thank you.
No, of course, it was a great experience. I'm sure most of us are almost right now. Everyone who are there right now is using Zoom, and I'm sure other people also is dependent on Zoom for that. And good that you have cleared that air about security. Anyway, thanks a lot. Now let me invite you again, Dr. Narashimman, who is going to share a very interesting tool again called Google Classroom. And thanks to you, Dr. Shabnam. I'm sure we'll come back to you if audience have a question, and we have another tool to see, Microsoft Teams. So let me just get Dr. Narashimman on board now. Dr. Narashimman, can you hear me? I think you're mute right now. You probably, I will unmute you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Dr. Shabnam, for sharing Zoom. So what we saw now is a platform where you will be able to use the synchronous, the online, the direct one. So what you're using, that is what Dr. Shabnam explained. So now the simple tool, there is a poll. Maybe you could answer. Which of the following e-learn tools you are using? Probably we'll get the audience opinion.
I can see that how fast Zoom is going up. I mean,
oh, it's nice. Okay, can we have the results?
Sir, can we wait for another couple of seconds, please? We see half of people have attended and many people are voting still.
Okay, fine.
Wait for half a minute or something.
Okay, no problem.
Now we have 74% of people who are there who have voted. So let me now end it and share it with everyone. Here are the results.
Okay, so we could see 42% with Google Classroom, 29% Microsoft, 80% Zoom. Wow, that's good. Some of you are using Moodle and Academy Edmodo. So these tools are also freely available. So before going further, let us understand the Zoom. What we saw is synchronous. It is live. It has its own advantages and disadvantages. One thing we should understand, I refer back to the first question when we all answered. We said that we require training. That was the first poll. Many of us are not trained. We need a training in these tools. When we look for these synchronous tools, it has its own advantages and disadvantages. So now I'm talking. I'm giving my lecture. It is live. We will have different level of learners in our classrooms. Some people will be able to grasp. Some people will require more time to read, digest, and then they need to answer. So the tools we should think of both synchronous as well as asynchronous. The synchronous one, what you are seeing is the live one. So now the asynchronous one, there are many tools for the benefit of for everybody. Everybody can use it easily, and freely available tool is Google Classroom. I could see many of you are using that Google Classroom. So you just need your account on your Gmail account. So you know the app. So if you see the app, and you will see Google Classroom there. So that's the Google Classroom. So once you are there, you will be able to see, you will be able to create the number of courses. You could see my classrooms, the number of courses created. So more than the technical aspects, this you can play around and you will see how this could be. Most of you are using. But the point, what we need to understand is Google Classroom is asynchronous, but now it could be made synchronous also. Again, I would like to stress on this. We should have both synchronous as well as asynchronous. So synchronous one, it could be recorded. If you have a beat, so you will be able to deliver the synchronous one, the online live sessions. At the same time, that could be recorded and then that could be uploaded to the Google Classroom or whatever other platform you are using, Academy, Moodle or Edmeadow. So it is very simple tool. Many of you are using. What is the first thing? You'll be able to create the classes. So what are all the classes you want to create? So now this is the button. When you create a class as a teacher, so you'll be able to create. So once you create it, you'll have the folders. So this it is very useful, very user friendly. For the last 3 years, I'm using this. It's really teachers friendly. Of course, the students friendly for asynchronous, not for synchronous. It has its own advantages and disadvantages also. You'll see the classwork. So that is the area where you will be able to post your material. So some of the important rules, it's more than the technical. From the education point of view, you should be very clear that what you are posting there. You should be very clear that the students are not present directly. You are not going to talk to the students directly. So whatever you are posting there, it should have a clear direction to the students. You want them to read the material, ask them, read the material. You want them to watch the video, post what is the objective. It's very important. Spell out the objectives. What is the objective of that particular session? What do you want them to do? So you will be able to create a class. That's what. First, the topic. What do you want to create the topic? You know that. So it should be organized. See, when one of the important thing in online classes, let it be synchronized or asynchronized, we should be organized, because the students are seeing your courses. So now you can create a class simply. So now this topic is created. So under the topic, let it be organized. Don't do it anything haphazardly, because the students are watching this. You are not present. Very important for the teachers. Ensure that it's very well organized. So now under this topic, what do you want to create? You know that. Organize it. You want to post a material, post a material. As I told you, give the instructions clearly. Okay. So what is the introduction is about? Suppose if I'm teaching evidence-based practice, the title, give the description. Okay. So this is the material for you to read, whatever, material for you to read and reflect. So they should be able to understand very clearly, and then you will be able to post. You will be able to add whatever you want. Either you could add a YouTube video, you could give a link, URL link, or you will be able to post a file, and you will be able to give a link also. Or if you can able to give a link through Google Drive also. I'll show you one of the folder how it will look if it is properly created. Okay, so now it is not only creating the lesson, so you will be able to create an assignment. The students can submit the assignment. Again, this is the advantage of asynchronous. It provides flexibility. The students can submit whenever they want. This is a fantastic feature. If it is done properly, you see, give the title. What is the title of the assignment? Describe what do you want. What do you want them? You want them to reflect or write an assignment and give the full description. It is for all the students. How many points? Set the due date. Okay, this comes under which topic? So now we have 2 topics. You can post under the topic. And then you will be able to add the rubric also. Rubrics means the students will know how they are going to be marked. So that is the advantage of this asynchronous. This is not possible with face-to-face. In face-to-face, you ask the students to submit the assignment and you are sitting and correcting it. But here, once the students post it, you will be able, it is very transparent. Once you correct it, you post the marks, the student will be able to see the marks on their grade sheet. Okay, so these are all the advantages. I'll show you one class which we have completed. So you can create an assignment, you can create a lesson. That is what you will be able to do using the Google Classroom. See, after every session, you will be able to create a quiz also. If you want to create a quiz assignment, So it could be an MCQ. Again, give the title. So what is it comes under which topic? Give the instructions. Very clear instructions. How many times they can attempt. Whether you are going to consider this for internal marks. All the instructions should be very clear. And then it will take you to the blank quiz. You see, this will link with the Google Forms. So you will be able to create any types of questions. MCQs, it will take you there. So you will be able to create the MCQs. You will be able to create true or false, or whatever type of questions you want, you will be able to create. The biggest advantage of this, once the student completed, they submitted, they will get the feedback automatically. You see, there is a column called answer key. So you will be able to give the answer key, which option is correct. So how many points you are going to give that points. The student, once they completed this, and immediately they are going to get the feedback. That is the advantage. So again, these are all the advantages of the online, or what you call the asynchronous platforms. Feedback is very important in learning. If the students needs to learn the feedback, especially the formative feedback. So the current face-to-face, the only traditional one, we will not be able to give feedback. You know that because of the number of students and the work what we have. So once the quiz is done, again, they will be getting the notice. You know, that is how, I'll show you one of the things how it is, you know. So this is how the course shell looks like. You see, once you completed the class, you see how this is organized. So you'll have the full chapter, starting from the introduction to the final one. So this is how your course shell is well organized. This is very important for the teachers. You should not, I have seen some of the course shells, you upload. No, the students will not like it. It should be neat. Because again, you are not seeing the patient, the students, face to face. Be very clear. So the course cell is very well organized. So you will be able to see the grades also. So how you will add the students? Go to people. So that is the people section. You will be add the students. Another advantage of this, you will be able to track the students who did well because they get the feedback immediately. So in our experience, we also did we took a feedback from the students. They are very comfortable with this. Now, I'm referring this is pre-COVID era. Before COVID, we use this. We use this as a blender. That's what today's title is about, blending. It is not only online. Only online is very difficult for healthcare professionals because we also need to have the hands-on sessions. So that will be delivered only during face-to-face. So it is very important for us to understand the tools. Again, our objective is not only to show you the technological aspect, how this is feasible, practical. The tool has to be organized in such a way so that the students get a better impression. So again, this is asynchronous again. So now you want to make this as a synchronous. That is also possible. The recent one in Google. You know what you can do. You can add a Gmeet. So go to Google Calendar. It's very simple. Go to Google Calendar. Then you will be able to add a meet. Suppose tomorrow morning you want to schedule an online class. So Monday, the 11th. So you want to schedule a class. So which time? Go there. So you want to schedule a class 10 a.m. It's very simple. You will be able to add a class there. So you will be able to add a Google Meet video conferencing. So now you are making asynchronous into synchronous. You got it? So now if you have G Suite, this could be recorded. Okay. So now you can create what time. So the students, those who are enrolled in this course will get a notification and they will be able to attend the Google Meet. So it's very important for the teachers to follow some of the strict rules. When you say time, it's very important, be on time. As Dr. Shabnam was telling, how the students are dressing up, it is same applicable for the teachers also. Though you may be conducting your classes, from home. So you should be, how you will be at the classroom, you should be the same, on time. how you start your instructions, especially when you're using asynchronous. Your instruction should be clear. It should be transparent. When you are giving the feedback, there should be mechanism. The feedback are provided transparently. So these tools are amazing. Now, actually, as I told you at the beginning, the COVID era is changing our teaching method also. In developed countries, they started using these tools for a longer time. So now it is time for us. It's nice to see on the poll, many of you are using many of these tools. So now, as a higher education providers, we should be well versed with these tools, and the students' perception is fantastic. When we look for their the readiness, they all wanted this kind of. Again, I refer, this is pre-COVID. The students want these kind of classes. So whichever tool, it could be Google Classroom, or it could be Zoom, or it could be Microsoft Team, whatever. See, all these tools are compatible with their mobile phones. Recently we had an issue. Some of the students, they are from remote. When they went back home, we should understand that they don't have internet access like what we have in the cities. We should keep that in mind. So that is the challenge with synchronous. Now what we are doing this webinar, these are all synchronous. The challenge is that. But if it is asynchronous, it is stored, it is flexible, and then the students will be able to access that anytime, whenever possible. Again, coming back, we should blend both synchronous as well as asynchronous. Have a live sessions, but the live session should be engaging. It will be very difficult, from remote, from Chennai, I'm sitting and I'm talking, some 500 people are listening. So it's very difficult for us to keep the people engaged. So there are some tools like this poll, and then there are other tools like Kahoot, and there are tools we should make use and to keep the people engaged. So this tool is a very simple tool, Google Classroom. You should explore this for asynchronous, but now it could be used for synchronous also. But make sure it is giving more knowledge to the students and it is not tiring them, it is not boring them. I think with this, I think I will hand over to Dr. Shabnam again to explain the other tool.
Thank you, Dr. Narashimman, for taking us through in such a detail about using Google Classroom. Let me invite Dr. Shabnam for another important tool, which is again quite popular, by name Microsoft Teams. And I believe, Dr. Shabnam, is it right that it's being offered free for education institution?
Yeah, well, actually, because of the COVID lockdown, the government of India has actually kind of twisted Microsoft a bit and said that they have to offer it free for 3 months. So it's good news for us, institutions as well as for our students, because Microsoft Teams is both synchronous and asynchronous teaching. Mm-hmm. And so, it does everything. So it's like a Zoom and a Google Classroom combined. So in fact, I'll just touch briefly because most of the features are common, and but whatever additional feature is there, I'll just touch it briefly because I guess time is, we are running a bit short of time.
Yeah, sure. So over to you about Microsoft Teams, Dr. Shabnam.
Sure. Thank you so much. So, we already are using Microsoft Teams, and Microsoft Teams is handy. Initially, we were using just Zoom and Google Classrooms. But now that we've got Microsoft Teams, life's become a lot simpler. So as it loads, let me just talk about it. So what happens in Microsoft Teams is that you can, as I said, is synchronous as well as asynchronous teaching, which means that students can do later at leisure, with emails and posts and notebooks. And they can also immediately have a video conferencing where you can actually speak to them and talk to them. Now, what the main thing about Microsoft Teams is that you have to actually make a team, and so my teams are already here on. You can see that. So I kind of created all kinds of teams, whereas Here, when you, I mean, see, look, I mean, if you have to join or create a team, you can just go and click on create a team. But here is the catch. There is a slight catch here, and you need to be aware of that, because with Microsoft Teams, what happens is that you have to have a Microsoft account, and that email account gets a bit tedious for us, because most of us, let's say, are on Yahoo or Gmail, and we are used to those email accounts. So suddenly, if someone says, no, look, you have to have another email account, it's like, well, do I? But yes, for Microsoft Teams, you do need a Microsoft Outlook account. And that's the account that gets added to the team account. And that's where your classes get formed. And so you can create your class, and whatever your class you want to form is like webinar or web. And then you can have a description, which is whatever. It's doing great work. And so whatever. And then you can go on to creating a team. Now, once you created a team, you need to, obviously, team has to have people in it, right? So you add people, and the moment you add people, again, as I said, they have to have Microsoft accounts. Now, again, like Dr. Narashimman said, and I emphasize in my Zoom lecture, that it's a good idea to have some teachers along with you as co-hosts. For the same reason that they can look at the technicalities, they can look at the students, whether they're paying attention or not, while you can actually deliver your lecture. Now, I skip this and I move on to the other aspects. So in Teams, in Microsoft Teams, the other good thing that you can do is uh, you can have posts. So here we go into Teams, and we can go into this one, and we can see the posts here. Now, it's been a busy time with all our students. Most important is that obviously the posts are there to stay. So even you can kind of and unearth the post later on. So that's important with Microsoft Teams. So the posts are there, and anyone says that, I didn't quite get that, or I didn't get the information that there was a class, you can actually refer to the post. And along with that, what happens is that, when you really want to say something to someone particular, so the way we do it in WhatsApp, we actually use the @ sign. So when you use an @ sign, you can actually talk to someone specific rather than generic. So that also is there, a particular feature of post. Now, in files, you can actually add anything. So you can add all your study material and things like that, which you can do in Google Classroom and other things as well. But another important thing is that you can actually add another app. So you have the choice of adding all these apps here, which is at times useful. So supposing you want to add a YouTube thing, a URL, a link, you can just add it here into your post, and that makes the entire class thing more effective. So I am a bit hurried here because I know we're running short of time. The other feature of this is your class notebook, and this is like a notebook which is shared between everybody in the class. So you can have a class notebook for the entire team, or you can have a separate channel under the entire team, and you can have, this is a private space that the student can send a private note to the teacher, or it can be a note for everyone to see, refer to, or someone's done an important assignment and the teacher wants to say, like, look, this is the ideal assignment for you to look at, then this can be actually shared in class notebook. And assignments are similar to what Dr. Narashimman has shown in Google Classroom. So I won't say that there's something definitely major here happening. You can actually set up a quiz, you can set up multiple choice questions, you can set up essay kind of questions. And here what can happen is that you can actually look at the time that the student is logged in, how much time the student took to complete the assignment, and the time the student completed the assignment. So what happens here is that because you can do that, the time spent, and if the student overshoots their time, then they can get their marks cut or whatever. So the other important aspect about MS Teams is, of course, a calendar, and you can have your entire schedule on a calendar, which is important because students need to know in advance what you are going to deliver and what is expected of them, and how and when they need to prepare, which is again similar to Google Classroom, but it's all happening together. I don't have to move from Zoom to Google Classroom. This is where I posted in Google Classroom, this is what I did in Zoom. I don't have to do all of that. It's there, it's a one-stop shop. Now, the other, and of course you have the option of having these video call conferencing. So it's right down here. 1 second. So you have the option right here, and you can actually do you know right now you can do a thing, and the video isn't working, but doesn't matter. You had enough of video chats, but you can just do an immediate call, and you can get all your people in. You can invite all your students here who are here, and you can get them all in. In Zoom, you can have all the students, you can see them all, whereas in Microsoft Teams, you can't see all your students at one go. You can see 4 of them on the screen, the ones who are talking or the ones who are discussing, whereas the rest of them will appear on the right-hand column here. And in case one of them is active and one of them wants to say something, then this one becomes a bit bold, and it starts blinking, and you know that this particular student may want to say something, and you can then ask them to say, you can ask them to come in. Now, so this is all, I think the rest of it is fairly similar to the other two. It's like, as I said, a blend of Google Classroom and Zoom. Here, another thing that you can do with your students is that when the student comes in, and you can actually have them joining in, you can mark them as attendee. So when the moment you mark them as attendee and not the host or whatever, then the student has no, can't bulldoze, they are automatically muted. And so life becomes easier for you to conduct a big class like with 30 or 40 participants. So marking them as attendees is important, which will happen the moment you invite them in. And you can also look into that aspect. So screen share options are similar to Zoom. You can actually screen share your PowerPoint, you can screen share a whiteboard. So all the same options are there, and you can screen share a lot of apps there. So in case you want to show something from YouTube immediately, and then conduct the class, and then come back to a whiteboard, and then do a PowerPoint, it's right here. So it's the ease of conducting a class, the ease of using multimedia, which was like a dream for us when we were kids, wasn't it? I mean, imagine watching a movie, then watching a PowerPoint, then having a discussion, and then getting it all done, and then possibly giving an assignment. No, I wouldn't have liked that as a student, but as a teacher, yes, I would do that to my students. Sorry about that. So this is what we can do. A lot of times, even if you don't have Office 365, because MS Teams is more linked with Office 365, doesn't matter. So even if the app doesn't come in directly, when you want to add an app here, and there is this plus sign that you get on the side, this plus sign, and the moment you click this plus sign, you can add on all these apps. In case the app doesn't come on, it doesn't matter, because if you've been working on any of these apps, you can upload it in the file section. So you can upload it in files, and Google MS Team will take it up. So when you end a meeting, say that, sum it up and say that, look, it was a great meeting and good to see you all. And I'm glad that we had this class. What also happens is that you can refer back to it later on. Again, same thing when students say that, oh, I didn't quite hear what happened at the end of the meeting. Well, voila, it's all there on the screen in post. And so you can all say that, so I can actually say, yeah, good to be in this webinar. And I can kind of end up the meeting. I can actually sum it up as well, saying that this is what happened, and this is what I liked about the meeting, and this is what I didn't like. So this is easy. It's free for us for the next 3 months till the government of India decides further, and of course till COVID takes us wherever it takes us. So enjoy it. It's a great experience. We're really enjoying working with Microsoft Teams, and I hope you enjoy it too. Nitesh, I think I really went through it very fast. I hope I made sense, and you can get me back.
Thank you. Thank you so much for keeping our time limits. I'm sure it's such an interesting and a deep topic. We have an audience which is actually very interested in this kind of a learning. So I'm sure. Thank you so much. May I now request you if you can stop sharing your screen?
Yeah.
So we have Dr. Narashimman. Before we move towards the end and take a few questions, we have tried to answer a few questions directly by typing it, but there are a few questions we would like to take it as a share. But before we start the question and answer, Dr. Narashimman, would you like to make a comment, something on summarizing before I come back again to Dr. Shabnam on this?
Yeah, online education is very important. There is no doubt. There are very many tools are available. One important thing, we should follow the education principles. Whatever sessions you having, let it be synchronous or asynchronous. Define the objectives. It could be 2 or 3 objectives. Define the objectives and make sure at the end of the session the objectives are met. Let the learners feel the objectives are met. See, today we had 3 objectives. We will introduce the tools and we will discuss the advantages and disadvantages. You will be able to understand the tools. That's what 3 objectives we had. We met the objectives kind by seeing the questions and other things. Ideally there should be a post quiz or a post reflection writing, something I'm telling for the learners. Otherwise the learning is not happening. Take it from the principle says assessment drives learning. So now we are jumping because we have all these things and everybody wants to deliver the lectures. But what is the objective? Please ensure the objectives are met. Use only 1 or 2 tools which you are familiar. Don't keep changing your tool. Today I use Zoom and tomorrow I use GoToWebinar. Tomorrow it is confusing the students also, and for you also it's not good. Select 1 tool, 1 or 2 tools. Be strict with the tools and keep using the tools, same tool, and you will become a master in the tool. That will help your students also. So that's to summarize. Once again, thank you very much, Nitesh. And
don't say like that. We have questions also. We will.
Oh, yes. Okay.
I think that the main point what you're focusing here is we all need to, make your objectives very clear and then decide on to. Dr. Shabnam, would you like to also, make it kind of a summary what we have been discussing so far, and what will be a message what people can take home out of this session?
Yeah, I endorse that. I think that we now that we've got into the situation where we are only doing online teaching and we're not, actually doing a blended one of in person and online, we do have a responsibility towards our students, and we do need to make it interactive, interesting, and it should be productive. We can't just like deliver a lecture and I've done my job and it's over with it. So we need to be innovative in it. And we need to have our, as Dr. Narashimman said, our aim should be clear, our objectives should be clear, and we should ensure that our objectives are met at the end of the class.
Great. And I think now let's start up taking up the question. We will not be able to take all the questions, but let me pick up the important ones. One of our listeners has asked very direct question about online examination. How do we ensure that we conduct examination also online? Because we are not sure right now when this is going to come up.
So again, online exam for what? We should be very clear. Are we using online exams for formative or summative? Okay. So for a formative assessment, online exams are pretty much easy. Like all these tools are allowing us, even Microsoft or Google Classroom are allowing us to conduct the formative exams, and the assignments with the clear rubrics is fine. But when it comes to summative exams, again, what is the level of outcomes we are assessing? If you are assessing at the level of creative, higher level, especially when we look for the postgraduates or at the final year physiotherapy students, knowledge component can be assessed very much, provided we have a foolproof system. At the level of creative, we say in Bloom's taxonomy, the highest level, the creative can be assessed with a properly designed assignment, with a clear rubrics. Online is possible, but practical exams, there are solutions are coming up, but there is no evidence to assess the skills. Physiotherapy is totally skill based, so the practical exams, that will be a challenge for us. But there are some of the studies happening in the medical field, how they perform, and that is recorded and then it is scored. But we are yet to reach there. But it is possible. It is possible, provided we have a foolproof system.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Narashimman. Dr. Shabnam, next question is directly to you. Someone wants to ask how you're doing attendance on Microsoft Teams.
So what happens, that's where the, initially you have the co-host. So, there have been times when the students probably logged in and then has probably gone to watch a Netflix film. And they're just there, So what you have to do is you have to be very alert. And if you find that, you have to keep moving keep looking at the right side column and suddenly ask questions. So the student knows that the teacher's alert, and I may suddenly be asked. And if they don't answer, then they are taken to task. So that does happen. It would happen to us also if we were students. We'd probably just log on and leave it at that. But you have to keep asking. That it has to be very interactive. So it's very intense for the teacher actually, because you have to be super alert. You're not looking at them, you're just looking at initials there and you're looking at a virtual presence.
I know all of us must have seen that WhatsApp message which is going around. There is a video where a person is holding his iPhone with this picture right in front of the camera. And there is another cartoon where the kid is sleeping on the floor and the class is not there. I'm sure all of us.
One other thing with attendance, we tried, some of the things we tried. After every session, there should be a simple formative assessment. That assessment, if the student didn't attend the session, they will not be able to answer. Again, one thing is very clear. We should be very clear now that present generation teachers, we should not be punitive. They are adult learners. Learning is for them. If they are not attending, they are missing their learning outcomes. We should be very clear as a teachers. But one thing, as you rightly said, we will be able to see whether they are there. But again, after every session, give a formative assessment, a simple formative assessment that should be based on the session. Then you will be able to see whether they were there in the class or not.
I think very valid point. And the last question which we will take it today is there a time limit for MSc?
No, there's no time limit for that. No, you can just carry on. It's great. There's no issues there.
So as usual, we have our president exactly at the right time towards the end to thanks and concluding this session with his concluding remarks. Dr. Raju Parashar, President of Society of Indian Physiotherapists. Once again, I would like to thank you, sir, for providing this opportunity and taking this initiative for connecting with all the audience across the country, and I think few of them from abroad as well, from learning from each other's experience. Over to you, Dr. Raju Parashar.
Good evening, Dr. Parashar.
I think we are challenged with the technology as of now. Dr. Raju Parashar, can you hear us? I think
Hi, everybody. That was a great.
There is seems to be a challenge with your internet connection. My apologies. I think we have to struggle a bit regarding the connectivity here. Let me try that once again, if we can have him talking to us. Yes, we can try that once again, if it works. So over to you. I'm sorry, there was a technical, we couldn't hear you. So over to you, Dr. Raju Parashar.
Okay, thank you once again, Nitesh. I must say you've become quite a professional at this now, moderating various sessions, which are very diverse in topics, but I guess you have the bandwidth. Thanks again. Thanks, Professor Agarwal and Narashimman. Before this webinar started, I thought I was very proficient in the use of technology in teaching and learning. But I guess I've been proved otherwise. I've been using technology since the 90s in the United States. And, I guess technology has changed so much. And I think that this was a great session. But a couple of things, two things actually. One is that you have actually highlighted and shown us the richness, the versatility, the depth, and the bandwidth by which we can use technology in teaching and learning. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
I basically have been I've been very skeptical about the use of technology and this whole blended learning thing and all that stuff. So I think after having heard you all, I think that I am going to be a convert very soon. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you.
And thank you once again. I thank both of you and our president for joining us today. Thanks to all our audience who have joined us today. Let me introduce a poll to all of you before you leave. Share your feedback with us so that we can plan all our future webinars. So thank you so much. Thank you, Dr. Shabnam. Thank you, Dr. Narashimman and Raju sir, to you. And before we meet,
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you, Dr. Nitesh.
Thank you,
It's been-
Nitesh.
one of you to kindly share your feedback before you leave this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't forget to mark your calendar for next Sunday, where we are coming up with another interesting SIPWEB, which is very important in current days. We have started another series by name SIP Chat, where we are going to chat with our veteran physiotherapists. Like we did on last Friday with Dr. Dastoor, we are coming up with another edition of SIP Chat with Dr. Ashok Bhatnagar from New Delhi. The details about the same will be shared on our Facebook page. So the best way to stay connected is to like our page on Facebook and be updated about the information and activities about Society of Indian Physiotherapists. Apart from this, we will also like to invite you to our 6th annual conference, which as of now is scheduled for a beautiful city in Chennai. For details about our SIPCon, please log on to our website, which is sip-physio.org. Thank you so much for joining us today, and we look forward to have you again with us next Sunday at the same time, 4:30. Thank you so much. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay fit. Thank you.